This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
It doesn't seem to be very transparent or very clear how the public is going to participate in the process.
A constitutional review that only happens every 20 years, why the public is worried some of their rights may be on the chopping block. Good evening, I'm Haley Wilgus. Welcome to ABC7 News at 7. Coming up, ABC7's Alan Cohn will have a roundtable discussion on the topic of the state's constitutional revision. But first, our top 7 stories at 7. A developing story in Paris tonight. ISIS is claiming responsibility for the shooting of police officers on the famous Champs-Élysées. French authorities say a gunman opened fire on a police car stopped at a red light, killing one officer and wounding 2 others. The suspect firing as he ran away, but he was shot and killed by law enforcement. Authorities say the attacker was known to French security services for his radical Islamic activities. President Trump is condemning the attack.
Our condolences from our country to the people of France. Again, it's happening, it seems. I just saw it as I was walking in, so that's a terrible thing. And it's a very, very terrible thing that's going on in the world today, but it looks like another terrorist attack.
French authorities have opened a terror investigation as they try to figure out if the gunman acted alone. On 420, a day celebrated by pot smokers, the Florida legislature is facing a decision on whether to decriminalize marijuana statewide. Right now, possessing less than 20 grams of marijuana is a misdemeanor, punishable by up to 1 year in jail and $1,000 fine. But lawmakers are now considering a bill that would lessen those criminal charges to civil charges. Possessing less than an ounce of marijuana would be a first-degree misdemeanor with only a $100 fine and 15 hours of community service. Right now, criminal defense attorney Derek Byrd says he defends more alleged marijuana users than you would think.
The biggest impact on the system, frankly, would be the money savings. I mean, you know how much money the system would save if they didn't have to arrest, jail, and prosecute people for nonviolent petty drug offenses like marijuana?
Byrd says law enforcement would also have more time to focus on more serious crimes. The bill is currently in the state Senate. The legislative session runs through May 5th. A newly released surveillance video shows the moments leading up to the fatal shooting of a Punta Gorda woman by a police officer. In the video, you can see Officer Lee Cole pointing his gun and shooting at Mary Knowlton, who was participating in a Citizens Academy training exercise last August. We have edited out the portion that shows her falling to the ground. Cole then runs over to Knowlton, apparently realizing what has just happened, as other officers then jump into action and call for paramedics. Cole has pleaded not guilty to a felony first-degree manslaughter charge. Attorneys representing Cole met today with the Punta Gorda city manager in an effort to overturn his employment termination. Protesters in Charlotte County say they will continue to hold rallies until they get the attention of Congressman Tom Rooney. The group Indivisible Venice, along with other protesters, organized a rally this afternoon outside of the congressman's office to express their discontent with the Trump administration. Recently, Rooney was appointed to lead a House probe into Russia's involvement in last year's presidential election. Protesters say they are trying to send a message to the congressman that they are watching how he handles that investigation. A major roadway that has been designated as an evacuation route on the Suncoast could actually become a liability in the event of an emergency. River Road runs from I-75 all the way past US 41 and on into Inglewood. It is a long road that is almost completely 2 lanes, and that kind of congestion is troubling, especially in the event of an emergency.
You're evacuating southern Sarasota County, Charlotte County, and even down to Lee County, the southern part of Boca Grande. So you have a huge region that's going to be one of the main ways to get people out of here.
If you haven't driven on that road when all the traffic's going through there with all the trucks and everything, it's a congestion nightmare.
In a joint meeting with Charlotte County this week, commissioners got a glimpse of what an improved River Road would be like. That includes turning the 2 lanes into 4 and some other places in 6 lanes in other places. With one major project on I-75 wrapping up, a new project may soon begin in Manatee County. The Florida Department of Transportation is planning on building another diverging diamond interchange on I-75 at State Road 64. Currently, there is a diverging diamond being built at University Parkway, which will be completed this fall. This $47 million project at State Road 64 will get underway this summer and will be finished in about 2 years. The Florida House unanimously passed a bill today that would include murder charges for someone who distributes certain drugs that result in a user's death. This move comes in response to the state's struggle to stem growing opioid abuses and overdoses. The measure adds fentanyl and other synthetic drugs to the state's drug trafficking statute, and that would also make it a felony to possess 10 grams or more of those drugs. And now for a check on our forecast, let's head over to Bob, who's been out at the Suncoast Boat Show.
Yeah, they're all getting ready for the big show that starts tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Lots of boats out there, over 250. It should be pretty good weather. We'll talk more about that a little bit later in this newscast, but right now, sun getting ready to set, not too far from now, and we have a few clouds around. Temperature still warm, 80, and the dew point 63. Winds out of the northwest at 12. And the pressure 30.03. Now that's weakening somewhat. That usually tells a story. That means that high pressure ridge is getting bumped around a little bit by the advancing storm system. Radar picture not depicting any rainfall around here right now, but there were some showers earlier. Those showers again since have moved on and pushing off toward the west. Temperatures currently it's 80 in Orlando as well, 83 in Tallahassee, 73 in Jacksonville. 77 now in Key West, the same in Minnesota, Longboat Key and Anna Maria. 86 though in Mayaca City and Parrish. The west coast sea breeze not quite making it all the way there, but it has cooled things down a little bit. You can see that wind flow out of the west in Palmetto, Ellington, but Parrish not. That's why it's 86 there. Wind's still out of the east. And Lakewood Ranch out of the east right now too, so they're a bit warmer. Siesta Key at 12 out of the west, and down south, Northport still getting that easterly wind, so keeping temperatures in the low to mid 80s there. Well, there's some moisture trapped down to our south. You can see that dry air moving through on the northern Gulf of Mexico right there on the scale. The dry air will continue to settle in our direction. Evening forecast looks pretty good. 71 by 11 o'clock. We'll have a few clouds around, and that'll be about it. Temperatures staying fairly warm through the overnight hours. So warm weather for the next several days, and then we'll start to see some cooler temperatures Monday and Tuesday. That'll be nice.
All right. Thank you, Bob. Still to come on ABC7 News at 7. For the first time in 20 years, a panel looks into revisions of the state constitution. And later on, ABC7's Alan Cohn takes it to the trapezoid with a roundtable discussion with the chair of the commission panel.
ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you weeknights at 5.
If you're only hungry for a slice of apple pie, why buy the whole pie? And you certainly wouldn't want to pay for an all-you-can-eat buffet. So if you don't use your cell phone that much, why get charged for a plan that's too big or even an unlimited plan? Luckily, there's still a wireless company that shares your values. Welcome to Consumer Cellular. Our average customer pays about $25 a month for everything they need. Many pay even less, as plans start at just $10 a month. You'll get a straightforward bill that's easy to understand with no surprises and all the attention you deserve from our friendly customer service team. No wonder Consumer Cellular received a J.D. Power Award for highest customer service. Plus, if you're an AARP member, you'll receive special discounts. It's easy to switch. You can even keep your phone and your number. So stop paying for more than you need and switch now. For a limited time, get your first month of service free. Call 800-457-2317, go online, or visit a Target store today.
They're coming from Tampa, Fort Myers, even Orlando. They're coming from everywhere for the Sarasota Ford Promise. Our promise means a new car you'll love. If not, return it for one you do. At Sarasota Ford, we promise live market pricing. We monitor national pricing on our entire inventory, so you get the best deal. In fact, we guarantee it. Bring us any competitor's ad, and we'll beat it by at least $1,000. That's why they're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, where 41 meets 301. SarasotaFord.com.
Is your old garage door stuck or broken? Would a new one give you a lift? Let Precision Door Overhead Garage Door Service of Sarasota come to the rescue with prompt and affordable repair service. Replacement doors come with an array of styles and colors, and they are rated to meet and exceed Florida standards. From estimates to installation, your satisfaction is our priority. If you're not 100% satisfied with any product, service, or installation, we will make it right, because Precision Door Service is a name you can trust.
I heard about the Dotoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Dotoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was and some additional cancers that were not found during the biopsy. I would recommend the Dotoli Cancer Center. As a group of human beings, they are unbelievably great.
Tonight, Florida's Constitution Revision Commission. Your blood pumping yet? But wait, it happens only once every 20 years and could have a huge impact on our lives, and it is controversial. Kate Flexter is here to explain. Kate.
Thanks, Alan. Several left-leaning groups are questioning how the commission is going about its business. Many now calling for more transparency. Every 20 years, Florida has the opportunity to rework its constitution.
I think it's really great that we have a review every 20 years. It's not something that every state has an opportunity to do, is look at their constitution.
Here's how it works. State leaders appoint 37 people to a Constitution Revision Commission. The amendments they propose then go on the ballot for the next election cycle. Any proposed changes to the Constitution would then need approval from 60% of voters. With the overwhelming majority of the commission picked by Republican leaders, the 37-member panel is almost entirely conservative, headed by Manatee County developer appointed by Governor Rick Scott, Carlos Baruf. Lourdes Ramirez of the League of Women Voters worries there aren't enough differing opinions.
I'm a Republican, I'm on Republican boards, but I want to hear what other people are saying as well, so that way we can have a balance.
The League of Women Voters is one of many progressive groups concerned the commission is not being open in its process. Ramirez points to the first public hearing with several complaints. For one, she says there was not enough notice given for the meeting. She also says there wasn't enough room to accommodate the crowd. And finally, she says the commission gave the impression of preferential treatment to certain speakers.
It doesn't seem to be very transparent or very clear how the public is going to participate in the process.
We called Baruf for answers, and he said, quote, "They have a right to speak, but they don't have anything to be concerned about. We're completely transparent and open." Baruf points to the fact that all videos and meetings will be easily accessible online. But organizations like Planned Parenthood aren't convinced.
So it's really critical that Floridians be engaged in this entire process from the very beginning.
The conservative panel is expected to put amendments before voters on issues ranging from school choice to limiting of the judicial branch to abortion. And Planned Parenthood worries a woman's right to privacy, something currently built into the state constitution, could be on the chopping block.
This is a really important part of the Constitution, and we have to trust women to make their own decisions about their own bodies.
President of Sarasota's Republican Club, Rod Thompson, argues the panel actually does represent the state and is operating openly.
I don't think that they have any leg to stand on. If you're talking about transparency, all the rules are being followed. You can go to the meetings, they're public meetings, they're advertised ahead of time.
Thompson adds the commission does not have the final say.
This is sort of a bit of a shortcut every 20 years we do. But you also have to remember that the voters have the check, and if they don't like any of the ideas that come out of the commission, then they don't have to put any of them into the Constitution.
But for Ramirez, the concern is complicated amendments that voters might not easily understand.
I'm hoping that when they take a deep breath, the commission, they'll realize that they really should be more transparent, more open, and that they will go through the process so that at the end, when we're looking at the ballot amendments, we're not already skeptical of what's being proposed.
Just to reiterate, any proposed amendments recommended by the commission will go on the ballot for the November 2018 election cycle.
Okay, thank you. Coming up, we'll hear from Manatee County developer heading the 37-member panel about the commission and how it's conducting its business. More about the transparency debate when we take it to the trapezoid.
From meeting curious lemurs to feeding big cats and hosing down rhinos, there's never a dull moment. And sometimes these amazing animals chime in.
Watch Animal Outtakes every week on ABC7.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right, we will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call for your free author submission kit at 800-425-5308.
This is an important medical announcement. Xarelto and Pradaxa have been linked to uncontrollable bleeding and even death. If you've been prescribed one of these drugs and have experienced these dangerous side effects, you may be entitled to substantial compensation. Studies show that Pradaxa can cause more heart attacks than warfarin, and other countries have already issued safety warnings against this drug. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. The call is confidential, there's no cost, and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to Pradaxa victims, and thousands of Xarelto victims are filing their legal cases. Call the Drug Watch hotline if you or a loved one used Xarelto or Pradaxa and experienced uncontrollable bleeding, brain hemorrhage, or even death. You must call now.
Call 800-793-6055. 800-793-6055.
Are you Goodwill?
Yes, because when I donate
or shop at Goodwill, I'm creating a job.
I am Goodwill, yeah.
Welcome back. An extraordinary opportunity tonight to talk with the man tapped by Governor Rick Scott to help revise Florida state constitution. You know Carlos Baruf. He is the CEO of Medallion Homes, ran for the U.S. Senate last year, challenging Marco Rubio for the Republican nomination. Big-time Republican contributor, and has sat and chaired a number of boards and commissions. Now his task is to help revise Florida's constitution. It happens only once every 20 years, and some groups like the League of Women Voters and Planned Parenthood are already crying foul. Joining us is Carlos Baruf and Frank Alcock, political science professor at New College, and our ABC7 political analyst. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. And the first question is, I mean, this is such an important undertaking, but most people watching this right now probably don't have a good grasp in what it's all about. So you are the chairman of this commission, Carlos. What is this about?
Well, it's simple. There's three ways to change the Constitution of Florida, and this is one of them. This is the third time this group meets, and it's a direct connection to the Floridians. You don't have to go through the legislature, you don't have to go through the petition process to make an amendment, put an amendment on the ballot for Floridians to vote on and potentially change the future of Florida.
Frank, this only happens 20 years, as we said. How is this commission constructed, and is it a fair representation of the population of Florida?
It's a 37-member commission. 15 appointments were from Governor Scott. There are 9 appointments that were made by Senate President Joe Negron. Speaker of the House, Rich Corcoran, made 9 appointments. The Supreme Court Justice made 3. And Pam Bondi, Attorney General Pam Bondi, serves on it. It's changed. I mean, this only comes into being once every 20 years. I think it's fair to say the composition of this commission, it's a lot of conservative appointments made by conservative politicians that are in control.
Any Democrats on it?
A few.
Oh, sure.
But obviously it's overwhelmingly Republican, even though if you look at voter registration in Florida, the Democrats still have more registered voters than Republicans. So, Carlos, is it, again, a fair representation of the people of Florida?
Well, I think to the extent that, Florida legislative is controlled by Republicans and they get the choice of who to appoint. It's a fair representation from that perspective because the legislature is a representative of who won races in all those districts. So from that perspective, in a representative government, yes, it is.
So at the end of this process, you come up with a set of recommendations that will go on the ballot, and it will be up to voters to decide. How does that work?
Well, exactly like you said. We put them on the ballot, and we still need a 6% majority. So we don't want to take the public's money or time for granted. We want to make sure that whatever gets on the ballot has a good rate of success, a good chance of success at the poll.
Historically, Frank, are you able to say how many of these ballot questions get enacted into the Constitution?
wide discrepancy in 77, 78. They put, I believe, 8 up there, and none of them passed with a 50% threshold. Same thing, 50% threshold the second time in 97, 98. 8 out of the 9 amendment proposals were approved by voters, and so a striking discrepancy. Now the threshold, though, it's 60%, and so I look at it in terms of the process by which either good ideas, which this is an opportunity for good ideas to change the Constitution to go through the process, and bad ideas, how are they going to work their way through? I'm actually fairly, the safeguards that we have in place with a 60% threshold for the public, I think that's pretty fair in terms of being able to stop a bad idea from getting all the way through. I'm more interested to see in terms of how maybe a good idea gets initiated by one of the commission members. Does it get all the way through to a full vote on the part of the commission? Does it get killed in something equivalent to a committee? These are questions that your rule process will, I think,
we have less than a minute left in the segment, but Carlos, I mean, do you have any idea at this stage how many questions you're going to put on the ballot?
No.
Okay.
No, we're still listening.
All right. Our discussion of the state's Constitutional Revision Commission will continue in a moment, but first we're going to get a check on the weather from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
We've all heard how military veterans adjusting to the civilian world may have certain issues.
30. 70.
If only everyone had this issue. No matter what challenge they face, Easter Seals is here for America's veterans.
This is the story of a boy who was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help, and slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
When my youngest, Addie, was 2.5, she was diagnosed with leukemia. When we first heard that diagnosis, you feel extremely alone. Walking in that Light the Night light with 6,000 people carrying lights, white for survivors, red for supporters, gold in memory of those who have passed. It's the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's hope that every year there are fewer gold lanterns. Your lantern will make a difference.
Start a team, join a team.
Help us light the night.
Why settle for less? Get more for your money at Sunset Subaru in Sarasota. Subaru is rated the #1 car brand in safety, and all Subaru models with eyesight are a 2017 IIHS Top Safety Pick. And you can lease the most award-winning small SUV, a new Subaru Forester, for just $209 a month. Or get 0% financing with complimentary maintenance included. Get more for your money. Go to Sunset Subaru in Sarasota.
When you want to get away from it all, to a place where you can do everything, or nothing at all, surrounded by natural beauty and all the modern amenities you might desire, then you'll want to be here at the Wannabe Inn on the beautiful shores of Manasota Key, Florida. To plan your escape, log on to wannabeinn.com.
Good evening, I'm Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Looks like the weather headlines read like this. There's a chance for an isolated shower this evening. The sea breeze front has moved inland, and there's a chance we could see 1 or 2 lone showers up until about 9 o'clock. A chance for more widespread storms comes Sunday. The rain chance is not all that great, but it's the best we can do for this time of year. A frontal system and low pressure area will move across the state, and that'll cool us down a little bit on Monday and Tuesday. So look for temperatures to get back to near average or even slightly below that come Monday and Tuesday. It'll be a nice break after temperatures all week have been into the upper 80s to 90 degrees. Some showers and clouds down to our south, basically associated with a weak trough down there. But for us, that sea breeze front again has moved well inland, and we'll see a chance for a few showers developing along it throughout the next couple of hours, but not much. A beautiful sunset in store here for the Sun Coast in just about less than an hour, really. Right around 8 o'clock. 80-degree temperature now. Dew point is at 63. Winds out of the northwest at 12, and the pressure 30.03. It's lowered somewhat from yesterday, so it is getting knocked down a bit. And the high today, warm, 89 degrees, the record high 92. And no rainfall to report. Our deficit now over 7.5 inches. Well, the wind flow will stay similar. That high pressure ridge, which has been sitting around for about 2 weeks now, it refuses to budge, and it winds basically out of the east and southeast, although in the afternoon, late afternoon, they'll switch around. That's that sea breeze developing near the coast, which will keep things just a little bit cooler there. You can see the general trend, all this wind around that high pressure on an easterly direction. But then as we get to Saturday, we'll start to see some of this cloudiness work its way up and a little bit more moisture in play as this frontal system starts to approach come late Sunday. There won't be a lot with the front, but if there's enough moisture around, it will create a few showers and, unfortunately, a few isolated thunderstorms, which this time of year can be pretty hazardous as far as fires go. Well, our first named storm out of the season has developed in the Atlantic, Arlene. And Arlene is a tropical storm now. It's a subtropical storm, really, and looks like it will continue to move off toward the west and then eventually dissipate here and get wrapped up into a cold front. But top winds are at 45, gusts are as high as 60, and winds are going to continue to maybe strengthen just a little bit before it weakens and gets absorbed by this frontal system by Saturday. Well, for us, the national picture showing some pretty big storms over parts of western New York and also into the Great Lakes there near Lake Erie, a big flare-up of storms heading into Buffalo and near Toronto out west. More moisture, even some rain and snow mix into Idaho, Montana, stretching all the way down into the Colorado Rockies. And as far as watches go, there's a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for Toledo, just to the west of Cleveland and to the north of Columbus, stretching over to Fort Wayne, Indiana. Temperatures behind the front much cooler, out ahead of it much warmer in the 70s in Washington and St. Louis, 82 degrees in Dallas now and 49 in Denver. Well, for boating tomorrow, it'll be a bit breezy to start the morning off. 15 knots out of the east. Then winds will slowly veer to the south and then eventually to the southwest, and they'll subside down to 5 to 10 knots in the late morning, early afternoon. Seas running right around 2 feet with a moderate chop there. Water temperature now at 77 degrees. Beaches will see a high right around 83. Upcoming tides, 7:51. Just around sunset at 7:50. And the forecast tonight, partly cloudy, clearing late tonight, 64 for a low. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, a few clouds in the afternoon, and then the extended forecast does call for a better chance, finally at 40% on Sunday afternoon, evening, and Monday morning. We'll be right back after this.
Tomorrow at 4 on Suncoast View.
It's getting hot at the Manatee Performing Arts Center. I'm Stephanie Roberts. On Suncoast View, we'll get a preview of The Full Monty, a Tony Award-winning musical about male strippers with a very surprising final scene. We'll paint the town orange to bring awareness to Parkinson's disease. We have a beach party with Sarasota's first Pollo Tropical and spice and tea exchange in the kitchen.
Tomorrow at 4 on Suncoast View.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes, B, console her,
don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-685-6422, 800-685-6422.
Welcome back. The debate over transparency among Florida State Constitution Revision Commission. We are with Chairman of the Commission, Carlos Baruf, and Political Science Professor at New College, and our ABC7 political analyst, Frank Alcock. Carlos, there has been some criticism in terms of the transparency of this process. I mean, you have had a bunch of groups like Progress Florida say we need an open, transparent process of revising our state constitution. And it gets down to the public hearings that you're holding across the state. Who can speak, and when these hearings are being held, respond to that.
Well, first of all, anyone can speak. No one's precluded from speaking. And we take the speakers in the order they arrive. And it's I don't understand the whole lack of transparency thing, to be honest with you. Well, I don't get it. And we give 2 weeks notice for people to come.
Well, I mean, it's been such an issue that groups like Planned Parenthood and the League of Women Voters have held news conferences complaining about it.
Yeah, I just don't understand it though, Alan, because we put our, our website will go active tonight at 9 o'clock, our full-blown website. But we put out our notices in press releases with at least 2 weeks notice for people to attend. We have nice venues that's easy to attend, where parking is available, everybody can be comfortable. So we're very conscientious of being inviting and making space for everyone. And we've listened to over 1,000 people.
Frank, you've been following this process. What do you hear? Tell us more about the criticism out there.
And I've seen and read the articles on a bit more notice sometimes about a particular venue. I don't know what happened in terms of the sequencing of speakers. These things bother me less than it bothers, I think, some other folks. I think in terms of the transparency of the process, we'll see as it goes forward. Probably the part of the process that I'd like to see the most transparency, that the point of initiation with the first draft of a prospective amendment. Once that happens, I think a lot of the meetings will be held in public. But if it's not a specific committee member that's drafting it, I just would like to know who's helping them out in terms of the first draft of those amendments.
So what are the issues that you are most interested in terms of taking on in terms of eventual ballot questions?
It's too early in the process. I'm just going around listening. What we're trying to do is get this board into all the media markets, make it easy for citizens of Florida to come and speak to us. When I took the job, I was very clear. I said, I want to go repeatedly to the major markets, make it preferably less than 2 hours driving time for anyone to attend one of our meetings. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to do it now, we're going to do it in the summer, and we're going to do it in the fall again. So people have multiple opportunities to come and speak to us. And then when we start coalescing around a product, don't know what that is yet, then we will go back again and show that product to all of those people to come and talk about what they think the product is supportable to them or not. The work product.
When you think of big picture, though, there's always a push and pull on the big issues of our days, like healthcare, abortion, guns, and so forth. I would imagine Planned Parenthood is being active in this process because they're concerned about women's health care issues and whether or not there will be more restrictions on them. Frank, is that your take in terms of what you hear in terms of why these groups are so active in this process?
I think the power of the committee, the commission itself, they can do anything that they want. So I think across the gamut, both progressive and conservative groups either view this as a threat or an opportunity, depending upon where you are on the spectrum. I think they'll watch it closely. There's an interesting irony, I think, in the more input that you get from the public, it's almost an infinite amount of ideas. Sometimes the more discretion that the commission will have in picking and choosing which ones they want to focus on. Criticism at this point, I think, is a little premature, but we'll see in January, I think, when that slate starts to develop, which ideas, which issues, which potential changes the commission wants to work on, and that'll say something about the priorities, and then we'll watch what happens to those proposals as they move through the process, and they're going to have to justify what they ultimately put on the slate.
Yeah, as you both know, if we don't get 60% of the vote, nothing happens. Right. So we can't move forward with things that we don't think we get 60%. That means you've got to get right, progressives, and independents, or you're not going to get it done.
Well, it raises the issue of whether you could take one of two tactics. Either you pursue the questions, whether it's about abortion or guns or whatever, that you would want to see enacted into the Florida state constitution, or you are concerned about whether or not the ballot initiative will pass, and if you don't think it's going to pass, you're not going to propose it in the first place. There are those two options. What's your view of that?
Well, again, the Floridians don't want to waste their time, and they don't want to waste their money, and this commission costs money to operate. Okay, so we have to make sure that as a group of 37, we try to move forward with things that we really think have a better than average shot at crossing that 60% threshold. Otherwise, we will have wasted their time.
Frank, how unique is this process in terms of other states? Do most states have this kind of constitutional revision?
We are the only state in the union that has something.
Imagine that.
Yeah, no, we're unique in this endeavor, and it's fascinating. It's a 1 in 20 year opportunity. A lot has changed in the state since the late 90s. One question I asked Carlos, and the committee does have the power to package amendments or changes to the Constitution however they want. And so I'm curious to see whether or not they take something that they don't think might get the 60% and sort of slap it together with something that sounds very appealing to everybody in terms of gaming it. They don't know what they're doing yet, and it's unfair. Carlos is in a position, he's just managed the whole thing, but it's something to look at in January.
And even though I brought the Constitution of Florida with me and the Constitution of the United States with me, and they're pretty.
Tell you which one's longer.
Yeah, exactly. So my thinking is, if the ballot isn't uncomplicated, and you do one of the things, which I think you're right, we obviously can do. I don't think Floridians stand for that stuff. They want to know exactly what they're voting on and not tag it on like they do in Washington and Tallahassee with 97 other things. So my inclination is to do single purpose.
I like that inclination.
That's my inclination, but I'm only one of 37. I only have one vote.
Is it possible to say what your areas of interest are? What would you like to see done that is not done today?
Well, I'd like to go a little further and say what I really like to see is 300 to 400 people at every one of our meetings coming up and talking to us with their ideas, as opposed to us listening to the special interests and the people that, because you can tell who they are when they come to our meeting.
Well, some of the, Corcoran and Negron and some other people were, they made no bones about some of the things that they wanted to see done.
Like what?
I think you have a very high proportion of school choice proponents on there, so I would be shocked if one of the amendment proposals does not deal with language in the Constitution that might pave the way for, I think, more robust use of voucher programs in the state.
Whether, we've gone through an incredible debate and court cases involving the death penalty here. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Florida's death penalty was unconstitutional. The state Supreme Court had to rewrite it. Is there any way that the commission would be interested in bringing more clarity to this? Because especially on issues like the death penalty, it is always litigated and appealed and so forth.
In the meetings that I've attended so far, that subject has not come up once.
It's one of those issues of our times, Frank.
It hasn't come up once.
It will come up, whether or not it actually somebody wants to take that on in terms of a committee or push that within the commission. It remains to be seen. I actually was up in Tallahassee like a month or two ago and just noodling around. But my sense is that a lot of the players, both the appointers and then a lot of these commissioners, don't exactly know what they want just yet in terms of this opportunity. And a lot, in some cases they might, but I think there'll be a lot of talking and, honest discussion and thinking between now and January. So.
There's some very bright people on this commission, and there's a lot of very bright people in Florida, and the more that come forward, the better for everybody.
Okay. We will be back with final thoughts in a moment, so stay with us.
Introducing the all-new Alfa Romeo Giulia, a performance masterpiece. Race-inspired handling and lightning-fast response times take your drive to the next level. Find yours at Alfa Romeo of Sarasota.
Invest in Kids is a $7.5 million project to build a new Boys and Girls Club in South Manatee County. I'm Caleb Grimes, and I was a club kid. It's where I learned important life lessons, leadership, integrity, responsibility, and baseball. Thousands of kids attend the Boys and Girls Clubs, and after years of use, their club is slowly falling apart. Help us invest in kids. Make your donation today.
Thank you.
Enjoy some of the best Suncoast restaurants on me. Just go to mysuncoast.com/dining, sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already, and you can win a $50 gift card to a restaurant in our area. We'll pick a winner each week, so go on our website and sign up now.
Attention, this is an important message for anyone who has taken Xarelto or Pradaxa. If you or a loved one took the blood thinner medication Xarelto or Pradaxa and was then hospitalized for internal bleeding, you may be entitled to significant compensation. Xarelto and Pradaxa have been linked to serious, even fatal internal bleeding. If you suffered a stroke, heart attack, or serious internal bleeding, or if a loved one died after taking Xarelto or Pradaxa, call us now. Our network of attorneys have years of experience fighting the big pharmaceutical companies and is ready to fight for you. Potential claims are being reviewed for users of Xarelto or Pradaxa who have suffered severe bleeding or hemorrhaging, stroke, or even death. Our network of experienced attorneys is ready to fight for you. You won't pay a thing unless your case is settled. Call today for a free confidential consultation. Don't fight this alone.
Please call 800-928-6604. That is 800-928-6604.
Julia from Alfa Romeo. Appearance. Performance. Power. Find yours at Alfa Romeo of Sarasota.
Welcome back. It's time for final thoughts. And Frank, what do you want our viewers to take away from this conversation and where we're going with this Constitutional Revision Commission?
I mean, I'd like to put it on their radar and probably also help Carlos out. I think the more participation there is on the part of the hearings process and just focus on the part of the public, the better it'll be for the process. It's the the public's time to sort of weigh in on what their priorities are and some of the things they'd like to see changed. Once we hit January and we get into 2018, then I'd like them to focus on a laser, because the magnitude and the impact, the implications of these changes they can be very, very important, significant to the state. So it's a 1 in 20 year process, and it's a vehicle. Doesn't have to go through the legs that a citizen petition does, and there are things that might not come through legislative resolution that are going to come through this committee. So
what seems extraordinary is when we're talking about the U.S. Constitution, people don't want to fiddle with it. It's rarely done anymore, and you have justices on the Supreme Court who are there because they say that they take the literal meaning of the Constitution written by the framers as basically gospel. But here we're open to rewriting it, and you have an extraordinary opportunity because times have changed. People may not want to fiddle with what's there, but our realities today are different than they were 20 years ago.
Absolutely. 20 years ago was 5 million fewer Floridians, and on top of that, nobody knew what Facebook was. It didn't exist. So the realities of what we deal with can be changed in this process, and it can be done by one Floridian with a voice, can show up at a meeting. That's what I want people to get away from here, from this discussion. Pay attention. Come to the meeting. It costs you nothing. Participate, give us your thoughts.
So again, reassure people who are coming, who are saying that they're concerned about their ability to come to the meetings and speak and not be leapfrogged over by people who may be more influential.
No. First of all, that was a rule that I sat down from day one. Whatever order we get those sign-in sheets in, that's how you will be handled, regardless whether you're an elected official or not. Whatever number you are in the line, that's how you'll be called up.
Okay.
Period.
Very good. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now we take some comments from the community on social media from yesterday's debate on climate change and how it is impacting the Suncoast. Rose says it's called science, people. You don't have to politically agree with it for it to be true. These people deny that climate is changing, but they believe that a zombie came back to save them from their sins. Unreal. Bobby says, more stupid news. Mother Nature and God in control. Okay. Chris says, of course the climate is changing. It always has and always will. Sea level rise is a myth. Well, if If you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And want to watch past roundtable discussions? They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. When we return, we'll have a final look at your weather. Plus, in primetime headlines, the case of kidnapping sparking national attention. A Tennessee teacher arrested after a cross-country trip with his 15-year-old former student.
When you want to get away from it all, to a place where you can do everything, or nothing at all, surrounded by natural beauty and all the modern amenities you might desire, then you'll want to be here at the Wannabe Inn on the beautiful shores of Manasota Key, Florida. To plan your escape, log on to wannabeinn.com.
This is an important medical announcement. Bard IVC filters have been linked to punctured veins and problems with migration. Anyone who's received a Bard IVC filter must receive medical monitoring and may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you have the Bard Recovery G2 or G2 Express filter, you are in a class of patients who should be compensated for some expenses. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. This call is confidential. There's no cost and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to people who should have been warned about the risks of the Bard IVC filters. Call the IVC Filter Hotline if you or a loved one has received an IVC filter and experienced a vein puncture or required medical monitoring. You must call now.
Call 800-329-3089. 800-329-3089.
It's the season of savings right now during the spring clearance event at Sunset Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Sarasota. Over 100 standard and available safety features make the new Chrysler Pacifica a safe investment for any family. And right now, you can own one for just $24,999. Or get one of America's longest-lasting pickups and save up to $11,000 on a new Ram Crew Cab. Better prices, bigger selection. Go to Sunset Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Sarasota.
Sun getting ready to go down, and it's going to be a nice sunset tonight. Tower cam grabbing a hold of what's been going on over the last hour or so, and you can see a few clouds around gathering out and pushing off toward the Gulf, and it looks as though we'll see generally fair skies after midnight. There's still a slight chance for an isolated shower through this evening. Some high clouds down to our south, a little disturbance south of Cuba, and we're looking at fair skies right now. You can see that sea breeze. I kind of sensitized the radar a little bit and pushed well inland of Lakewood Ranch right now. So winds are out of the west there, cooling things down just a little bit, but still pretty warm, say east of Parrish. Currently we have 80 degrees and the dew point 63, winds out of the northwest at 12, and the pressure 30.03 inches. As far as the wind flow goes tomorrow, it will stay out of the east throughout the day and then switch around a little bit late afternoon. It turns to the west, and then again, we'll get back to the same story on Saturday, although a little bit more southerly component on Saturday as a result of the storm system, which will be moving into the deep south on Saturday and eventually bringing us a chance for rain as some moisture moves up from the Caribbean. We'll see that in combination with a frontal boundary, kind of two meeting right there over north central Florida on late Saturday night. And then Sunday will be our best chance for showers, late Sunday afternoon and then Sunday night. And then Monday morning there's a chance, but a pretty healthy front right there, and there's quite a bit of tropical moisture coming back in the picture. So rain chances now stand at 40%. We'll see if that changes in the next computer forecast model output. Well, we do have a newly formed tropical storm outside the season. This is the third year in a row we've had a named tropical system before the actual season starts. So a little unusual for that, but we have it out there. Arlene will continue to push off toward the west, and eventually we think it gets absorbed by a couple of frontal systems and then carried off into the north central Atlantic. There's that little low pressure down to our south now in the western Caribbean. Here comes the front gathering over parts of the Plain States. Some big storms now into western portions of New York near Buffalo, stretching down to near Erie. And then out west, we have kind of a rain-snow mix in the higher elevations of the Colorado Rockies, stretching through Colorado and then on in through the Pacific Northwest. There's still a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for northwest Ohio, and this is a newly issued tornado warning just to the southwest of Cincinnati right now with that particular cell. Elsewhere, we see these orange boxes. Those are indicating severe thunderstorm warnings at this point. 46 in Boston. Look at that, 76 in the nation's capital. So quite a contrast there in air mass temperatures. 61 in Rapid City and 47 now in Denver. So chilling out across the central and northwestern portion of the United States. 92 in Phoenix and a Shreveport now at 84 degrees, 77 in Jacksonville. As I mentioned earlier, boaters, it'll be a little bit breezy to start today, but will subside somewhat, 5 to 10 knots in the afternoon. And tides upcoming 7:51, so just in about 30 seconds from now. Low tide will be at 4:15, and then the high tide tomorrow at 10:44. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, some clearing after midnight, low of 64. Tomorrow, look for a nice day, mostly sunny, some clouds in the afternoon, 84 your high, and the extended forecast does call for nice weather on Saturday. Showers comes late Sunday afternoon and evening, and then we clear out and cool down a little bit Monday and Tuesday. Haley will be back with primetime headlines right after this.
Tomorrow on ABC7 News at 7.
The United States of America will always seek peace, but under President Trump, the shield stands guard and the sword stands ready.
Rising tensions with North Korea. Anyone see our aircraft carrier taking another stab at repealing Obamacare? I'm Alan Cohn. We'll have Suncoast reaction to another wild week in Washington.
Tomorrow on ABC7 News at 7. Your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
Call right now to get your free Senior Care Compass ebook. Find out about the 5 best-kept secrets on financing senior care and assisted living.
Call now, 800-290-0352. 800-290-0352.
You only have one life. Are you gambling with it? 1 in 3 adults have high blood pressure. Not knowing your numbers could cause you to lose, big time. Luckily, you can turn the odds in your favor by getting your blood pressure checked today. Don't leave your health to chance. Learn more at heart.org/HPB.
So many times we underestimate the human spirit's drive to recover. We often see people surpass what any of us might have expected initially. The Rehabilitation Pavilion at Sarasota Memorial is the top of the line. It allows us to really bring the patient's recovery to the next level.
The Trump administration is sharpening rhetoric over one of its foreign policy challenges. The White House promising to keep President Trump's campaign pledge to review the Iran nuclear deal. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson comparing the deal to another challenge from abroad.
This deal represents the same failed approach of the past that brought us to the current imminent threat we face from North Korea.
The review will be evaluating whether the administration should stop the suspension of sanctions against Iran because the country, quote, remains a leading state sponsor of terror. The deal is expected to stay in place through the review process. President Trump wants to know if steel imports are harmful to U.S. national security. The president signed a memo ordering a probe into that matter.
Maintaining the production of American steel is extremely important to our national security and our defense industrial base. Steel is critical to both our economy and our military. This is not an area where we can afford to become dependent on foreign countries.
The memo will fall under a Trade Expansion Act of 1962, a section of which permits a U.S. president to restrict trade if he or she determines it is harmful to U.S. security. The order will require his Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross, to conduct the administration-wide review within 270 days. Once the review is completed, President Trump will decide on curbing the import of foreign steel. The U.S. imports steel from more than 90 countries. That's according to the International Trade Administration. A break in a case that captivated the country. A Tennessee teen is safe and her teacher turned alleged kidnapper is now in custody. 15-year-old Elizabeth Thomas has been found alive and safe in a remote area of the northernmost county of California, along with her alleged kidnapper and former teacher, Tad Cummins. Now investigators are trying to unravel their weeks on the run.
This morning, authorities in Siskiyou County followed up on a tip called into TBI headquarters late last night and found Elizabeth and arrested Tad Cummins. She will soon be on her way back home.
Thomas has been the subject of a nationwide Amber Alert since March 14th. Bill O'Reilly will be leaving Fox News, a wealthy man. Sources personally involved in his exit from the network say he will be paid tens of millions of dollars on his way out. O'Reilly signed a new contract shortly before his ouster that's reportedly worth $25 million a year. Fox News announced Wednesday that O'Reilly would be leaving the network. The move comes weeks after it was revealed that 5 women who accused O'Reilly of sexual harassment and verbal abuse received about $13 million in settlements. In a statement, O'Reilly denied those allegations, calling them, quote, completely unfounded claims. There's word out of Washington. House Republicans are planning to take another shot at repealing and replacing Obamacare. But Congressman Vern Buchanan is taking a wait-and-see approach. The first effort by Republicans failed last month. Over the last few days, informal talks have been taking place between members of the Freedom Caucus and more moderate Republicans. Buchanan says he believes a new health care plan will happen. The question is when.
So there's a possibility we could get something done in a week or two. I haven't seen anything yet. I know they've been discussing it. Got to find a way we can get together and get something we can get passed, because we're not going to probably get much support, if any support, from the Democrats. So we've got to get to the 216 ourselves.
You can watch Alan Cohen's full one-on-one interview with Congressman Buchanan tomorrow on ABC7 News at 7. That's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Haley Wilgus. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night and see you at 11.